that if a reptile conspiracy theorist did call in, and he could probably tell me a bunch of stuff that I hadn't heard, because they do pull in these facts from a whole bunch of places. And he might say, you know, oh, well, how can you explain the fact that George Bush had slit eyes? I think, you know, if you believe that it's just a camera glitch, then you're a sucker. You know, you're just believing what they want you to believe. And I don't think I can confidently, with great accuracy, diagnose what the camera problem was in George H.W. Bush's video interview that made him look like he had slit eyes. And I, frankly, don't care enough to go and research camera problems, because even if I did figure out what was going on with this one thing, there would be, you know, I'm sure a dozen other unbelievably inexplainable facts that would also support the reptile conspiracy. But the one thing that I find the hardest to believe about, say, the reptile conspiracy in general is that it would just take an enormous and not to mention completely flawless amount of competence and money to cover this thing up effectively. So effectively that the only people who ever come out and say, I know what's going on with this conspiracy, are crackpots on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about
who don't really have the inside track on anything.
If you think about it, in one way, we've talked a lot over history, and we're fascinated with the idea of coming up with the perfect crime, the perfect murder, the perfect robbery. We have books about it, we have movies about it, detective stories.
Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment.
And yet we have organizations and programs that are about busting this. You know, CSI and the various real crime stories. The fact of the matter is that it's rapidly getting harder and harder to get away with almost anything.
Yeah.
And so if you were to commit some crime, even if you didn't do it as a conspiracy, even if you went out and did it on your own, the odds that somebody would find you out are pretty good. So now if you expand this to, here's a group of people who are conspiring to do something, and we're doing our best to cover it up. Each new person you add to that is a new element for exposure. And each new attempt to cover that up is a new opportunity for discovery.
Right. It's like this sort of demented comedy sequence you sometimes see where the guy kills somebody and then somebody is a witness. So he's like, oh, I need to kill this guy, and then somebody else walks in and says, oh no, you saw me too, you have to die. And then, you know, the bodies keep piling up because he can't let one single person escape with knowledge of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exacerbating the situation to the point where the more people you add, the more you try to cover up, the more you've provided opportunities for discovery.
And when you're talking about an enormous conspiracy of global proportions involving every world leader, I mean, you know, those leaders have AIDS. They're not all reptoids.
Some of them are hiding under the desk.
Yeah. Let me bring this back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, which is something at reptoids.com, the reptilian human things.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is the first guy, John.
By the way, if you're on hold calling about 9/11, you can hang up because we're not talking about it again. We got 5 minutes left.
That's true. So this is that John guy, John Rhodes, who writes, consider this fact, and I consider this almost exactly the same things that the callers are doing right now. Consider this fact. While scientists are proud of their cataloging approximately 2.5 million life forms, they reservedly estimate the total number of life forms to be approximately between 100 million and 150 million. That means that our scientists have only encountered about 3% of all the terrestrial life with which we share this planet. Obviously, there's a lot of animal life out there yet to be discovered, some of which might be too intelligent to have direct contact with humanity. And then, of course, so he makes the argument here that scientists don't know about every form of life, and therefore, by default, until we catalog every form of life and find no reptile humans, my theory about reptilians must be true.
Yeah, and mermaids, and Yeti, Bigfoot.
Right.
Loch Ness Monster.
And that's
fairies, pixies, leprechauns.
That's what conspiracy theories in general will rely on, is exploiting the fact that we do not know everything.
Yeah.
Because we never do. Science doesn't know everything. Official government statements don't know everything. Reporters don't know everything. But where the fallacy comes in is they say, okay, I have an idea of what happened. Explosives were planted around the buildings.
Yeah. And
And until you prove that there weren't any explosives planted around the buildings, that must be right.
Hey, I have a theory. Demons came and grabbed hold of the girders and pulled the buildings down.
Oh, that was a serious theory. You remember there was
Oh,
a picture of a demon cloud of
Satan in the
smoke
cloud.
coming out.
Damn,
Yeah.
I could have shot. See, it's impossible to lampoon these ideas because somewhere there's somebody who's willing to believe anything. Even stuff that we know is fictional because we made it up knowingly. I mean, you know, the Cottingley fairies, two little girls perpetrating a fraud with, I mean, and in modern culture, the special effects that they used, which were these cardboard cutouts that they then took pictures of, which, I mean, you could see the lines where they cut them out. I don't know how this fooled anybody, let alone Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
And to bring it to more recent examples, there was a guy who deliberately pulled off a Noah's Ark hoax by saying, look, I found this piece of wood from Noah's Ark. And it was a deliberate hoax. All he had was this one piece of wood that he soaked in something to make it look old. The creationists all went hook, line, and sinker for it.
We got less than 30 seconds. There's a list of the crew: Steve Nelly, Joe Rhodes, Frank Pichal, Shilling Catanius, Shelley Roberts, John Icoletti, Don Baker. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back again next week, and we'll continue out. We hope you enjoyed your time off, and welcome to 2008.
And El Royo.
You can email tv@atheist-community.com, and also you can join us at El Royo on 5th Street.